In that moment, you walk into a room and nobody wants to be in the hospital, right? Everyone's scared, whether you're a kid that's battling cancer or that kid's parents. Everyone is feeling some sort of anxiety or sadness or fear. And when you go in there with the music, it just allows there to be a moment. At the very least, it's a break in the day. It's 5 minutes where you're not thinking about why you're there. You're just a family again. You're just a person again. You're not a patient. And you have that moment of reprieve from the heaviness and the noises that are in the hospital. On the other end of the spectrum, at the very most, it's like this spiritual moment where you're connecting with music and you're connecting with the energy of a volunteer that can really have medical benefits.
Welcome to the Gigs Podcast. I'm your host, Nikki Sanz, founder and CEO of Gigs, the professional career platform for the live event industry. In this podcast, we are talking to the very best in the touring and live event industry to hear the good, bad, ugly, and unreal moments of life gigging and lessons learned on the road. So today we have Pete Griffin. Pete is the president and CEO of Musicians on Call, the nonprofit that brings live music to hospital patients, caregivers, and veterans across all 50 states. Under his leadership, MOC has grown from a local charity to an internationally recognized organization that's delivered the healing power of music to over 1 million people. Before MOC, Pete led national campaigns at MTV, winning an Emmy for community service, and held executive roles at Big Brothers, Big Sisters, and Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America. His work has taken him to the White House, the UN, Oxford, and he's been named one of America's top nonprofit leaders by the Anthem Awards and Nonprofit Times. He's also recognized by the city of Nashville with a Silver Star for saving lives during a flood. So Pete, welcome to the Gigs Podcast.
Thank you so much, Nikki. I'm excited to be here. It's good to see you again, and I'm looking forward to our chat.
From your bio, I mean, it's crazy. I've known about Musicians on Call forever, and it's an honor to know you and what you guys are doing for not only just the patients, but the families and the veterans. So just starting off right off the bat, you've brought music to over 1 million hospital beds. What is one moment that you'll never forget?
Yeah, it seems it's almost one of those questions like you're asking a parent to pick their favorite kid because there's so many moving stories. I mean, literally on a daily basis, we share these incredible moments with these patients, their family members, caregivers. But there is a moment that I'm not afraid to say is one that was really pivotal for me. And that was a few years ago. A lot of us remember the Route 91 shooting out in Vegas. Now, at the time of that tragic event, Musicians on Call did not have programs in Las Vegas. So we have hospital programs all around the country in a lot of major cities, but that was one of the cities at that point that we didn't have programs yet. But given the fact that this terrible event happened at a music event, being an organization that's headquartered here in Nashville, a lot of our volunteers were both performing on stage as well as in the audience. And so we felt very connected to what had happened and felt like we needed to do something, even though we didn't have programs in Las Vegas. And so over the course of the week from when the shooting happened, we put together a group of people to go out to Las Vegas, to go around and do our program in the hospital, going room to room, playing for patients and the survivors of this shooting and family members and caregivers. All within a week's time. We basically put together all these programs. So we got a bunch of artists together, some of whom actually performed at the festival.
Wow.
And we went room to room to play for these patients. And the reason I say it's the one that sticks out is there's kind of two reasons for that. The first one being when we went to these patients' rooms, if you think about it, the last time they heard music, they were being shot at, right?
Gosh.
Which is pretty scary and pretty heavy. And so when you walked into the room to play for these folks, I mean, they literally had the stress and anxiety and fear that you would have if you had been shot or you had gone through something as traumatic as that. And then within a couple minutes, they were sitting there laughing and smiling and having great moments with their families and sharing memories of music. And And then there was like kind of the switch that turned where you saw them realize that like, this is what music is. It's not about that tragedy, that event, but it's something that brings joy and happiness. And you saw that connection being made again to really what music is all about. And so that was really, really powerful. On top of the fact that, we went to one patient's room with an artist that had played there. And I think it was Michael Ray. And the patient was in their bed after having been shot and said, like, you were the artist I wanted to see at the festival. And next thing you know, he's playing at their bedside. So that moments like that where there's a lot of tears involved, was super, it seemed like, a higher power was involved where 100%. That moment was being made possible. And then the other moment that really sticks out for us is a week after the shooting, we wanted to go to the emergency room to play for the caregivers that were on shift that night. Oh. And so we went there later in the day so that we can play for the people that were working. And having spent a lot of time in the hospital, caregivers are generally pretty stoic. They're dealing with a lot. It's a heavy job. They're seeing a lot of things that can be difficult or sad to see. Yeah. And they've just got to fight through it because they're there to take care of people, not to, reveal their own emotions in a lot of ways. And so they're just a tough breed of people. Yeah. And we went there and we went to this emergency room. And I would say this was like, this was like a Monday night, just a regular day of the week. And this emergency room was packed on a regular Monday night. Yikes. And it just made you think that a week ago, it was probably that same level of busy, and 199 patients came through that night on top of that, along with whoever might have brought them, because they saw 199 patients at Sunrise Hospital in Las Vegas the night of the shooting. So if you can imagine 199 people coming in with bullet wounds, with whoever took them, with whatever, was, going on, the sounds of people in pain, everything else, you can only, it's hard to even imagine how heavy and scary and sad that must have been. And these caregivers were just like incredible in the work they did saving these people. And we went there and we played, and about 20, 30 seconds into the song, all the caregivers just started weeping. No. And it was one of those things where you just saw that they hadn't had a moment to process what was going on, because it's not like they took off that week. Mm-hmm. They came to work the next day to care for more people. And so in that moment, they just finally had a moment to hit pause and release. And it was just like waterworks. Wow. And you really felt music tangibly healing these folks, because they needed that break. They needed that moment to release and to get lost in the music. And I know one of the artists that was there played this Brett Eldridge song. And I saw Brett, a few months ago now. It's one of those things as an artist, you may not know when people are covering your song or what context. And so for him, I know, to hear that story, he was very moved by it, because you just never know the power of a song and what it can do. But gosh, that was a very long-winded answer to your first question, but Thank you. It was such a moment. And I'm not afraid to say that is like one of my favorite memories of all time of seeing music truly heal people.
Truly heal. And what's crazy too is that it's just another day for them. They're seeing trauma every day. For all of us to be like, oh my gosh, this event, how can you do it? And so I'm sure that music that you guys did for the healthcare workers was more than just for that event too. I mean, it's just, that is insane for truly healing. But isn't it interesting how to heal, it's like you have to break down too. And so that's why you're seeing the tears. Yeah. Let's step back a little bit about like Musicians on Call, the purpose, the mission, and then operationally, how does it really work? Yeah. So you're in all 50 states, and you have for patients, for families, and for veterans. You said Michael Ray, Brett Eldridge. Do you have these big stars and then also local artists that are coming in? How does it all work?
Yeah, exactly. So, our program, I obviously love it. It's fantastic. And for anyone that loves music or works in the music industry, it's such a great thing to be involved with, because the people that make our program work are music lovers or people that want to help in their community. We have plenty of musicians that are involved, but we also have opportunities for non-musicians. So people that work in the music industry, people that might be coming to gigs because they're looking for a role because they have some role in the music industry. Everyone has an opportunity to be involved with us, because when we go to hospitals, our non-musicians are what we call our guides, and they take the musicians room to room so that the musicians can play at the bedside of these patients.
Artist liaison.
Exactly.
Boom.
Right? So the cool thing is that we go to all these facilities nationwide. It could be children's hospitals, adult hospitals, VA hospitals, hospices, you name it. We play for every type of patient, every type of demographic, and they go room to room and play these intimate moments with these patients and their family members and the caregivers that are in their hospital room. And so they do that, and it's just such an incredible way for people to give back, because in that moment, you walk into a room and nobody wants to be in the hospital, right? Everyone's scared, whether you're a kid that's battling cancer or that kid's parents. Everyone is feeling some sort of anxiety or sadness or fear. And when you go in there with the music, it just allows there to be a moment. At the very least, it's a break in the day. It's 5 minutes where you're not thinking about why you're there. You're just a family again. You're just a person again. You're not a patient. And you have that moment of reprieve from the heaviness and the noises that are in the hospital. On the other end of the spectrum, at the very most, it's like this spiritual moment where you're connecting with music and you're connecting with the energy of a volunteer that can really have medical benefits. I mean, that's the things. We think of music as just like a great thing to do to lighten the mood, but the truth is there's science behind what music does to lower stress levels, blood pressure, help with pain management, help with mental health. And so those things are happening as well. And so when we run these programs, it's just a great opportunity for people that want to be involved in helping others to really change the life of people that are going through a pretty tough thing.
Wow, that is so beautiful. That's so cool. I will, officially be doing that. I want to be an artist liaison for this. Cool.
I hope you do.
I'm in, man. No,
and honestly,
that's so
anyone
awesome.
that literally, if someone is watching this, they already have an affinity towards music. They already have a connection to music. There's probably been a moment in their life where music has made a difference for them. And those are the people that volunteer with us, whether you're a musician or not. So
that's fantastic.
We'll take all of them nationwide to help us out.
So how do you guys get the musicians on board? How do you get big stars and local musicians? How do you get the music to want to sign up and everything? To
be honest, a lot of it is word of mouth. We've been doing this for 26 years now, which is a long time. And a lot of people have just heard about what we do. So it's important to mention that when we're going room to room in hospitals, most of those musicians are what we call our local professional volunteers. So these are local songwriters, local musicians that might be playing gigs in their community. If you're here in Nashville, they might not be playing Bridgestone Arena, but they might be playing at the Listening Room or some of these venues around town, where that's what they're doing with their career. That's what they might be doing as a side hustle, or maybe they're at the beginning of their career. And there's incredibly, incredibly talented musicians. But we've also have hundreds and hundreds of musicians that have volunteered with us through the years that are, the bigger names in music. And I'm talking about, Bruce Springsteen, Dolly Parton, Billie Eilish, Olivia Rodrigo, all genres of music, Noah Kahan, just recently, Marshmello. I mean, it's like from rock and roll to DJs to country music to singer-songwriters. I mean, everyone that you hear on the radio, I think probably has been involved with us in some capacity through the years. And those moments are really cool. I mean, I'm not just name dropping, but the importance of them doing it is really meaningful, because when there's kind of like a hierarchy of how music connects to people. If someone came in here with a violin and played music, you would sit there and you'd say, that's beautiful, I loved it, that's soothing, that's great. But let's say your favorite artist, was MGK, and all of a sudden MGK comes in the room and meets you and plays
the fiddle,
sings something for you, whatever.
Let's watch MGK play a fiddle. Yes, that'd
be interesting. But you're going to have a deeper connection to the music and the artist that you know. So when these artists come into your room and it's someone that you know, and they're playing a song that you know, then it does have a more meaningful connection, and that's why we try to work with a lot of those bigger artists as well.
Totally. And I always say, I feel like I live in the future a lot, and I'm like trying to be more present. And I think the two places you are so present are on a boat in the middle of the water and at a concert. Like when you are on a boat or at a concert, you are so there. That's all that matters. You are not anywhere else. And so when you were mentioning, no one wants to be in a hospital, but when you are having someone sing to you, there is nothing else you're going to be focusing on but that and what they're saying and the feelings that are coming up from it. So how powerful.
Yeah, especially in a hospital when you're sitting there and you can't really make a lot of decisions in a hospital. You're in your bed, You eat when you're told to eat.
Right.
You take your medicine when they tell you. If you fall asleep, they wake you up to take your blood.
Yeah.
And you don't have a lot of control over what's going on. And so for these 5 minutes, you kind of feel like you're in your own space. You've got some autonomy that you didn't have. And again, just that in itself is meaningful to people that are in hospitals.
So what does music mean to you then? Why did you get involved? And then we'll go way back and hear, your start. But why did you want to get involved in this?
It was one of those things that I think maybe like a lot of people, I didn't think too much about how impactful music was in my life. I knew when I graduated college, I wanted to work somewhere in the music industry. And I got my first internship at Sony Music in New York City. And that was kind of my first introduction into the industry. But it wasn't until I learned about Musicians on Call and heard about it that I realized that I listened to music to help me heal, right? So if you're having a crummy day, you might put something on in the car to help you kind of just detach a minute from a rough day. If you're having, a great moment, you're going to put music on at your house to party to because it's helping you celebrate these moments. And music has that connection to all of us, even though we may not actively think about it as something we use to heal or cope or to celebrate, but that's truthfully what it is. And so just to apply it in a setting where people need it the most, to me just felt so meaningful. And so when I had the opportunity to join Musicians on Call in 2014, it was like a no-brainer for me. It was like, gosh, if I can do this for a living and I can try to help grow the organization to serve more and more people, then, what a better calling than that.
Wow. Do you have, you might be right off right here, or you might have to think, a song that you can go back and say, oh my gosh, that song healed me at that time in life?
For me, there's albums that I felt connected to in a very special way. I think of Outkast's second album, ATLiens, was one where when I heard that for the first time, I was like, oh my gosh, this is a sound I was searching for that I didn't even know I was looking for.
Oh, cool.
I feel that way about some Dave Matthews albums, Muse. So I feel like there's maybe albums or artists that when I first heard their music, to me, it was like a light bulb went off. Like, oh my gosh, this is the sound I've always wanted to hear, and I didn't even know I was looking for it, but now I've found it. So I hope that answers the question.
That's so cool.
It's kind of like, to me, that's what those things were.
That's amazing. So let's go back to the start. You probably, in high school didn't see yourself where you are now. So what was that? What was your initial dream? What did you want to do? And then what was that first job you got?
Giving back and being involved in the community was something that was involved a lot in my childhood, whether it was through my parents, through Boy Scouts, whatever it might be. We were just always involved locally growing up.
Where are you from?
From New York. I grew up like an hour outside New York City. But then as I got older, I really kind of developed not developed an affinity. I've always had an affinity to music my whole life, but I kind of developed the idea that maybe I could work in the music industry as a career.
Got it.
And so that kind of happened in college. And then after I got my internship at Sony Music, I got my first job a few months later at MTV.
Yes.
And when I started at MTV, it was like a dream job. MTV was like the number one media brand in the world. It was the peak of culture, music, society, young people, activism, you name it. It was like it. And so to be able to work at MTV during that time was an absolute dream.
It's epic.
I mean, I worked with some of the most creative and brilliant people ever. I got to work on some amazing projects and initiatives. But the interesting thing was when I was doing that, my mind was focused on how do I move up the ladder, the corporate ladder, as quickly as I could? Mm-hmm. How do I make as much money as I could? And just put my head down and do that.
Yeah.
And so I was able to do that within MTV and kind of moved up the corporate ladder pretty quickly and was able to take on a lot of responsibility and some great roles. But what I found as I climbed higher up the ladder, if you will, was that life felt less and less fulfilling.
Ooh.
Yeah. And I was on paper where I wanted to be and doing what I had dreamt of doing. And it was one of those things where when I got there, I would literally wake up in the morning thinking, have I already called in with the flu this week? Because how do I just don't want to come to work. I'm feeling very empty and dark inside.
Yeah.
And it took me a while to figure out why that was. And as I thought about it, I was realizing that in the very little bit of free time I had, I was volunteering at these different organizations in New York. I was teaching science at the Museum of Natural History on Sunday to kids. I was involved
awesome.
in like this Save Darfur campaign and fighting HIV/AIDS campaigns and all these different community initiatives. I was working with this in the Coalition for the Homeless and helping people that were coming out of homelessness or drug addiction with like business skills. And I was like, this is what drives me. This is what I love to do. And as much as I love music, as much as I truly did love MTV still, is there any way that I could just figure out how to do something like that full time?
Whoa.
And so I resigned from my job at MTV.
What were you doing
At that point, I was working on MTV's international marketing team. So I was working on global partnerships with brands that were activating around the world with MTV.
Wow.
A dream job. I was traveling the world with MTV, working with an international team. It was absolutely incredible, and it was a great job.
Yeah.
It was more like me as a person wasn't in the headspace for it.
But isn't it crazy that you have to learn all of those cliches yourself? You can hear it a million times, but until you actually learn that money doesn't buy you happiness, that, the higher you get doesn't mean that you're going to get more fulfilled. I mean, you just have to experience it.
And it was a tough pill to swallow, right? Because it really was. It was a great job with great people at a great company, and I wasn't happy.
Wow.
So you start feeling like, what's wrong with me?
Yeah.
Right? And so it took a while to figure out what might make me more fulfilled. And anyway, a couple months after I resigned, MTV hired me back, except this time it was to join the public affairs and social team, working on social cause work at MTV. So I was managing all the things you would see on MTV around social issues, whether that was covering the presidential elections, working on campaigns on climate change, on completing high school education, on sexual health, you name it. And so I was basically doing all the things you would see on air on MTV around social issues.
Cool.
And that's when I started to get more into like working directly with artists, working with artist teams, working with the MTV News team on production and putting shows together. And it was just an absolute dream. And so that was really my segue into the nonprofit space. And then after the 2008 presidential elections, I went down to DC and was working. I left MTV to work more directly in the nonprofit space, working on climate and energy issues and organizing young people around that. So that's when I started to segue into this space and realized that, you know what, this is, where I want to spend my time is really figuring out how to engage people in helping other people.
Yeah. Okay. So going back a little bit to when you were with MTV, so you were saying it helped you work more with those artist teams and help them put shows together. So it was kind of like, all right, MTV is this big hub where all the artist teams come in, and then you could be like, hey, we're working on this. Do you want to be a spokesperson? Do you want to like read this ad, that kind of thing, or what?
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, we were putting together these great campaigns, working to engage our audience on issues that were really important to them, they were telling us were important to them. And so we were trying to create opportunities for them to get more involved, and highlighting the stories that young people of young people that are already taking leadership roles in these things. An example, there was a campaign called Half of Us that was really focused on mental health. And in that campaign that MTV had, we were really trying to destigmatize mental health issues and challenges that people may face. This was back in like 2008.
Okay, boom.
This was kind of at the advent of social media and the internet and stuff. So it was it was a topic that people weren't talking about or connecting the dots to, especially social media and how that was affecting young people and their brains and mental health.
And now no one has an issue with social media and mental health. It's it's all worked out now.
Exactly. But we were, calling this out in the beginning, saying like, no, this is something we got to pay attention to. But we got, artists like Pete Wentz and others that were not afraid to talk about, some of the things that they were dealing with, and trying to at least make it normal for people to say that, it's not weird to say I'm not feeling well, or I don't feel like I'm in a headspace to do anything today, and talk to your friends about it. Because the reason that campaign was called Half of Us was because more than half of our audience, when polled, said that at some point they had felt so depressed that they couldn't function, they couldn't do their schoolwork, they didn't want to socialize, yet all of them felt like they were the only ones and they couldn't talk to their friends.
Wow.
And so, really destigmatizing that conversation. And I think of one of our volunteers now, like Noah Kahn, who's doing incredible work on mental health and continuing to destigmatize that and make people feel normal to have those conversations. It's just such important work. So that's kind of what we were doing at MTV at that time.
Wow. Okay. So here you are figuring out where your passion is, because it was not where you were. Okay, now it's definitely getting people behind social causes and things that you're passionate about and getting other people passionate and educated on. So then you leave MTV, you go to DC to do even more nonprofit work. What was that for you? How does that feel?
It was great, but I think that the biggest takeaway as I transitioned from the corporate world to the nonprofit world, business is business, and in many ways things should be done the same way. But in a lot of ways, folks that have worked in the nonprofit industry for their entire career, in some ways there was opportunities I had working at MTV that I felt like the other people that I was working with didn't have those opportunities to see. How do you work with artist teams?
Yeah. Or
how do we put together corporate partnerships in an effective way that creates something that they want to continue to work with you year after year and support what you're doing?
Cool.
And like those experiences, I think really helped me to be successful in the nonprofit world, because they were bringing to some of the organizations I was at experiences that other people didn't have, and allowed us to do more with the work that we were doing for those different charities I was working with.
Got it.
And so I think that was, for me, very helpful to have come from that world before working in the nonprofit space, because it was just in many ways experiences that other people didn't have that I was working with that really helped us affect more people.
You were honored at the UN. What the hell? What happened there? How? And also the White House. Please tell me about all of that.
The UN, I had the opportunity to speak at the UN. I wasn't being honored, but I had the opportunity to speak in my role at MTV. They have a youth assembly.
Oh, wow.
And I was there to speak about how to engage young people in achieving the Millennium Development Goals, from education to health issues to economic, growth. Basically, how do we engage young people in getting involved in these kind of really heady global issues?
Yeah.
So it was, it wasn't a light conversation, but it was really an honor to represent MTV there, to have that conversation, because it really highlighted the work that MTV was doing around the world to elevate, young people in those areas.
Yeah.
And then I had the opportunity to go to the White House a couple times. The first time being engaging with the Obama White House on how to basically activate and work with young people on climate and energy issues, because truly young people were leading the way on these issues.
Yeah.
And at the time, within the first year of Obama's administration, there wasn't maybe as much being done on those issues as a lot of the young people who voted for him would have hoped. And so the organization I was working with at the time helped to put together a youth forum at the White House so that they could engage. We could bring in young people that were leaders in their local communities to engage with the White House on environmental justice and clean water and environmental challenges that Indigenous people were facing, and really elevating these topics. So again, not like light conversations, but important ones that young people were really leading the way, and we had the opportunity to help facilitate them.
Okay, so then I guess maybe you said this in your speech with the UN, but how do you connect with the young people? What is it?
The ones that are engaged in these issues are already leading in the right ways. It's really about, I think, providing them with more opportunities. Like the adults in the room have to provide them with the opportunities to shine to highlight the work that they're doing. Because I think in some ways I would see that, these adults were kind of like talking down to young people. It's like, well, you guys don't know, and this isn't how you do it. But the truth is, in so much change that's happened in our communities and in the world, it's led by young people that say, like, listen, we're not going to wait for you older people to tell us what to do or to give us permission to do things. We're going to do them. And I think in many ways, those of us that have more experience, it's almost on us to provide pathways for young people to lead and to give them opportunities that maybe we had or wish we had, to be a bigger part of the conversation. And I think in the different roles I played at organizations through the years, I think that's really what we were trying to do, was give them a bigger platform, give young people the opportunity to shine. Because honestly, we could learn a lot from the passions and the experiences and the information that young people have. A lot of times they're the ones moving the needle, and we need to take direction from them, you know?
Wow. That's a first. That's cool to hear. And also they have they haven't been totally jaded by going into real world and being, hitting that oh man, everything is hard.
Right.
It's like all the hope of we can do so many amazing things. And so, yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I mean, I learned this at MTV, and this is one of the things we speak about a lot of musicians on call, but it's like the status quo, and this is the way we've done things is like my kryptonite. Like it's, I hate to hear people say that because it just means that you're becoming complacent. You're just saying like, this is easy and this is just what we're going to do. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the thing with a lot of young folks is that they're out there saying, okay, well, we could maybe do it better or do it differently or do it in a more impactful way. And sometimes people don't choose to listen to that. Mm-hmm. And if they did, maybe we'd be doing things a little bit differently and better, do it in a more impactful way.
So cool.
So
when you're building campaigns, maybe when you're with MTV or at other nonprofits, how do you know when something is going to actually connect? Do you get focus groups? Like if you're leading marketing, if you're leading brand sponsorships, I'm sure that takes teams. It takes a lot of collaboration and creativity. But how do you know when this is impactful? This is doing good. We should continue this.
I would say that we always try to do a lot of research ahead of time. And again, going back to MTV, I always used to tell people when I worked at MTV that MTV was a research organization. Mm. That's why, people gave MTV a lot of credit, deservingly so, for being ahead of the curve with young people. They stayed relevant for so long because they were involved in the trends before everyone else was, right? But the way they were able to do that is because they were constantly, observing and researching and studying young people. It wasn't just a bunch of people in a room saying, let's do this. It was backed in data and research. And that's how a lot of decisions were made. And so I think that's important because as we look at what we do at Musicians on Call, again, we're out there, like we do polling and research with the people that we serve. And then a lot of us, myself included, are doing like tons of reading and studying of what's going on out there to figure out ahead of time, like what are the things we need to be paying attention to before they become popular. And so in that sense, I think that's a big component of it. And then, for us, like any other organization, we're always tracking our metrics. We're looking at how many people are we serving. We're doing research of the people that we do serve to make sure that it's worthwhile, that it's impactful, that they feel it's necessary what we're doing, and taking that information back to, make decisions about what we do in the future.
It's so interesting. And you might not want to speak on this, but like what happened to MTV? It's interesting because it was like you turn that on, you're watching music videos. Music videos were just so cool. It was like just the best to watch. And it's interesting. It's like, all right, maybe if they hopped on the YouTube train earlier, maybe if they, you just wonder because like as of right now, Instagram's doing super well, YouTube, TikTok. Okay, but then my thought is like, when do we need to start getting into VR? When do we need to start getting into live streaming? What is that next thing? When I'm like the end of millennials and Gen Alpha, I don't understand why they like certain things, but how do you? So it's that constant research. What was my question? Yeah, what happened to MTV?
Yeah, I mean, listen, people always have said to me, well, if MTV played music videos, we will still have watched. I still would have watched or whatever. And I call BS on that because the truth is that MTV was at its height of power before the internet and social media and YouTube really became so powerful. Yeah. And once especially YouTube became powerful, it just was one of those things where you didn't need MTV to watch videos. Like if you could pull up a Coldplay video on YouTube, why are you going to sit for 3 hours in front of MTV waiting for that song to come on? Right. But that's what people had to do in the 80s and 90s and beginnings of 2000s is that you had to wait until the video came on to see it. Mm-hmm. So once you didn't have that option, the audience left. It wasn't like MTV changed and we stopped playing stopped playing videos and that's why no one watched. And then MTV tried to become more creative to incorporate music into its shows and reality television and everything else. And they were able to kind of continue that for a little bit longer. And then I think, the organization was bought and sold a couple times. And at that point, if we're being honest, it just became a line item on a spreadsheet. Yeah. as so many of my friends and colleagues left MTV or were replaced when they were bought, the heart and soul of what the organization was, in its first, 30 years just left. And now I think to young people, MTV is a logo on an Urban Outfitters sweatshirt or t-shirt. And that's basically what it is.
Wow.
Which for those of us that were there during its heyday is heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But the truth is it's a different world. And MTV was what it was in that moment in time.
Yep.
And, I try to explain to young people now, it's like if you combine Spotify and Instagram and Snapchat and Discord and all these different things into one, like that's what MTV and its power was back in the day.
Yeah.
And now it's, 100 different things.
Yeah. They got the 16 and Pregnant, all the different shows. It got wild for a little bit.
It did get wild for a little bit. It did get wild.
That's, but what a cool experience in the heyday like that. But I think it's just such a cool lesson of how to stay relevant, and by studying the young people and knowing what is going to stay relevant in music. And I think right now it's really interesting because TikTok is not going to stay for very long. So I'm curious what is going to be next. Is it for example, musicians on call, is it going to be holograms? Is that are we all just going to have those devices?
Right.
Or are we all really valuing, I think after COVID, we saw people value in-person events, and that's not going to change. And so having a human come to a bedside and actually play a song, I think you got something good for a long time.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I think regardless of musicians on call, I think the future of music is probably, if I'm sitting in my living room, that I'm going to queue up a hologram or immersive experience of whatever artist I want to hear in that moment. And that's going to be me seeing that artist perform. Whoa. It's just going to be happening wherever we're at on demand. I think that's probably in the future where it's going to be, is that just it's there for you in person in some capacity, however we want it. That being said, for what we do in hospitals, everybody loves the music. The music is truly healing to people. Yeah. But one of the biggest pieces of feedback I get from the people that we play for is the humanity of it. The fact that there are volunteers in the community that are willing to take an hour or two out of their day to spend time with someone who's a stranger to try to make their day better because they're going through something tough. Yeah. To the people we play for, that is one of the most important things about our program, is just that human-to-human connection. The fact that you're lying in your bed sick and some stranger comes in and they just want to try to help you make your day better. Oof. And it's just that's what life is about. That's what this is all about to me. If we all thought about that, whether it's musicians on call or any other organization, if we all gave an hour of our time a month just to focus on making someone else's life better, I think we'd see a lot of the challenges and issues we see in the world start to dissipate, because it's a mindset change, right? It's thinking about, how am I going to live my life in a way that's about making other people happy. Yeah. And once you have that switch flip where that's how you're thinking as you go through life, a lot of things kind of fade away.
The key to that, though, is that if you do start living that way, your life gets better too.
Always.
If you take it off of you and thinking about others more than yourself, your life gets better too. Our
volunteers say that to us all the time. They're like, I feel guilty volunteering with you because I feel like I'm getting more from this than I'm giving. Yeah. And that's just the way you feel when you help other people, is that you just get something more rewarding for yourself. And not that that's why we do it. Yeah. But that is an effect of it, is that you end up walking away just feeling better about yourself and your life.
Yeah, the question is volunteering actually narcissistic, really?
Yeah, right.
If you're feeling good doing it, seems like you should keep doing it because you're helping other people.
It's funny you say that, because having come from the corporate world, there's a lot of my friends and former colleagues that I work with that are like, gosh, it's so nice that you've chosen to do that. One day I want to give back and help people or whatever. And I'm thinking to myself, no, the reason I'm doing this is because this is what makes me happy. Yeah. If I was a stockbroker and making money made me happy, then I would be doing that. If I was, a bartender and serving people at a bar was the thing that really made me happy and that social interaction was, I would be doing that. This is totally. I am no different than anyone else doing, what they want to with their life. Yeah. And it's just that, what I'm doing is helping other people as well. And and I'm happy to be able to do that, but I'm no different than anyone else that's just doing what they want to.
Just following the passion.
Yeah.
I love that. This episode of the Gigs podcast is sponsored by Gigs. And if you don't know what Gigs is yet, it is the professional career platform for the live event industry. So join as a professional, create a profile, apply to jobs, network. We have events, we have mentor masterclasses, we have this podcast, we have other educational resources. As an employer, if you are looking to hire anyone in this industry, go to Gigs, join as an employer, post jobs for free, and you will get so many amazing qualified applicants that you can hire. Also, for employers, we have our Pro Search, which is a database search that you can search by job title, years of experience, location. You can search our tens of thousands of professionals that we have within the Gigs network. We also have amazing sponsorship opportunities. So there's plenty to do with Gigs. So please reach out to us, info@gigs.live. We'd love to meet you, talk to you if you have any questions, if you want to get more involved, if you want to sponsor any of our events. Our next big Gigs events are on the West Coast, baby. We will be in Vegas on November 10th and LA on November 12th. So more information will be coming out about those, but we're so excited to meet our West Coast people. We've had so many events over here in Nashville that so excited to just finally get out over there and meet all of you. I know we got thousands of you over there, so we're really excited to host some events. The whole idea of it is networking, hanging out, community, and hopefully you meet your next boss. Hopefully you meet the next person that you hire. So more information will come out on that. Join Gigs, go to gigs.live. And thank you so much for listening. So tell me about Big Brothers Big Sisters.
Yeah, I was there for a couple years out in Arizona. It's a great organization. It was one where, again, we were trying to connect adults, caring adults with young kids that needed a positive adult influence in their life.
Cool.
Gosh, you see that all the time. I mean, even with adults for that matter, but it's like we all need that person in our life that's like a positive influence in us, someone who we look to and we say, like, kind of want to emulate how they treat people or how they work and it's just how they go about their life.
Cool.
And for young people, that's super important because if they're in a situation where they don't have that or they don't have a parent like that or don't have two parents like that, we know that their life can go in one of two directions and one of them could be pretty bad for them in the future. And so, youth mentoring was so important and it was really great to be able to do that for a little while.
What do you do if you you don't feel like you are a mentor? Like but you really could teach people and train people. You have the life experience, but you don't really know, like maybe it's an imposter syndrome of like, nah, but I can't actually help someone. Like, do you have any advice on that?
I mean, we all can. Here's the thing, like, and it's funny, I learned this when I was volunteering with this homeless organization, homeless coalition for the homeless, it was called, in New York.
Cool.
And my role volunteering for that organization was literally to work with women that were coming from domestic abuse, drug abuse, or homelessness situations, learn business skills so that they can be more independent.
Cool.
And the reason it was important for me to volunteer in that role for that organization was that a lot of them did not have positive relationships or history with men. And so part of it was just kind of being a person that they can start to maybe to feel more comfortable in a room or talking to, men. But the other thing was, so that in itself was like just being a person was enough in that situation to be helpful.
Yeah.
But then the other part of it was like, a lot of them didn't come from backgrounds where they had ever worked in a business or with a computer, right?
Yep.
Literally like opening email.
Yeah.
Writing and sending an email.
Yeah.
Things that so many of us do and you wouldn't think twice about it. Like there's people out there that don't have that skill set. So there's things that we take for granted in our lives that other people, if we find the right opportunity, can benefit from our experiences.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I often tell people that when they're saying, well, I just don't know how I could help. It's like, there's 1,000 ways you can help. Only thing you need to do is make the decision that you're going to do it. I want to help and I'm going to figure out what it is, because there's something for all of us to do. It doesn't have to be big. It's just we can contribute some way for a little bit of time in our community, and it'll literally change people's lives. But you have to do it, and it could be volunteering, or it could be saying, listen, I'm a banker and I'm making a boatload of money, and I'm going to give some of that to an organization. That is just as important as someone volunteering their time, because that allows these organizations to operate. So there is something for all of us to do if we decide to do it.
Yeah. Love that. Love that. And it is like, oh, I just don't have time. It's like, well, you make time for what you make time for.
Exactly.
And look at your screen time. That's what I do when I want to guilt myself. And I'm like, man, I didn't get to, like, let's just say, like, I didn't get my Bible time in or whatever this day. And I'm like, oh no, but I was definitely on Instagram. And so I will make myself look at my screen time and shame myself to say, you had time, you idiot. Yes, you did have, you know, maybe I'll have time on Monday. You could have moved that meeting and you could have done the, you know, People Loving Nashville or food distribution or So that's the other thing I think of, just that lie. And especially like our audience is touring professionals. So that's something I really hope that gigs can help with, like all these different opportunities when they're in town. There's like a weird, you know, you got to rest, especially if it's country. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you're resting, you're doing laundry, but there's also that like lack of community sometimes where everyone else has the 9 to 5s. You're like sleeping until 10 or whatever, like you just don't have anything to do during the day. Go volunteer. There's a whole nother community that you can actually be a part of. And so this is really cool, especially if you're in the touring industry. You probably like music, and this is a whole nother music nonprofit.
And by the way, we literally have virtual opportunities as well.
Oh, tell me about it.
We can have musicians play for people over Zoom.
Really?
In hospitals. So if you think about someone who's touring, whether they're a musician or support, if you have 30 minutes to log onto your computer, you could volunteer.
That's so cool.
And so it's like there's literally opportunities for everybody. It's just, and that's just with us, but I'm sure with many organizations there's more opportunities, but it really just takes that mental shift. You have to decide, this is important to me and I'm going to do it. Because as you said, we make time for what we want to make time for. Yes. Nobody is too busy for anything. When you say you're too busy, what you're really saying is it's just less important for me.
Yes.
And that's fine. But busy is not a real excuse. It's just, I've got a bunch of things in my life and there's a hierarchy of importance. Yeah. And this is just less important for me. So if people decide that giving back or volunteering is more important for them, I think there's a lot of opportunities for them.
That's so cool, man. So for maybe this, like, that might feel a little intimidating. Like, I personally do not like hospitals. I don't like being in them. I don't like being around them. I just do not like going to them. I worked with a Children's Miracle Network a lot in college, and so I had to go a lot. And anyways, for people that have had very traumatic experiences in hospitals or loved ones, have you seen that with any volunteers that are just really skeptical, don't really want to go in? Yeah,
listen, if that's the way someone feels, and there's so many people like that, and to be honest, when I started Musicians on Call, I was very uncomfortable in hospitals because it was like my association with hospitals was kind of like, this is where people I care about have gone and they've passed away, and it's like not a place I was super stoked to go back into. That being said, if someone feels that way, then I would say don't volunteer for an organization that goes into hospitals, because there's plenty of organizations that you don't have to put yourself in that uncomfortable situation. If you really were adamant about wanting to be involved in like the work that we do, then there are those virtual opportunities where you can not go into a hospital, you can do it over Zoom, you can facilitate it, and truly you won't even see patients, because for confidentiality reasons, when you're doing that Zoom, it's to like a black screen.
Oh, wow.
So you're not even seeing it, because you have to protect the confidentiality of the patients that are in the hospital. So you're playing to a blank screen, you can hear them and you can interact with them audibly, but you won't even have to see what's going on there. So there is the opportunity for the people virtually who are nervous around being in the hospital. But there's actually plenty of famous artists that we've talked to, and they're like, honestly, I love what you guys do, I just don't want to go to hospitals. And that's totally cool. We're like, then don't. Then there's a lot of great organizations that could use your help. And
who are some of your favorite artists that you've gotten a chance to work for through this or through MTV?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, selfishly, whenever you could work with the artists that you personally connect with, is always a big deal. You know, for me personally, like, I've had the opportunity to like meet or work with people like Bono or Noah Khan, who is here in Nashville and we love, and even like someone like Eminem I've met when I was at MTV, and those moments were just like cool because you love their music and that connection. And then with Musicians on Call, I got to tell you, we have so many great artists that support us that cross all genres of music, and they've all just been brilliant with people in the hospital. And it's funny because sometimes people ask me the opposite question, like, have you ever met anyone that was like just awful? And
I know you're going to tell me anyways, but
yeah, no. And I guess the beautiful part about what I do is that I'm working with people on a day where they're giving back to others.
True.
So even if someone happened to be awful, I'm always catching someone on their best day.
Best day.
So I like truly don't have like bad experiences with people. Like everyone that I've worked with has just been a dream to work with. I mean, there's here in Nashville, there's people like Reba and Kelsey Ballerini, and so many other country artists that are just so generous with their time and wonderful to us. But I mean, I could just go on and on. There's just people that are just so gracious to us and want to help others.
Who's the WWE guy who's the big Make-A-Wish?
Michael Cena.
Yes, Cena.
John Cena.
John Cena.
John Cena.
Do you guys have like a John Cena, like someone that is just so generous with their time and they're just always helping out?
Yeah, I mean, it's people like Gavin DeGraw, like Kelsey Ballerini. Gosh, I hate to even mention names because I'm going to forget people, but people that just do things with us regularly.
Cool.
And for us, like regularly is like every other year.
Yeah.
You know, if we can get one of these bigger artists in like every 3 years. Yeah. For us, that's like a huge win because the truth is it's really hard to get on these artists' radars. Mm-hmm. And like I've been, there's artists with like Luke Combs and Katy Perry and others that we work with a lot that I know for a fact they're getting hundreds of emails a day asking them to do stuff.
Totally.
Mostly from like worthy organizations and situations. So it's not like, it's like
competition.
Yeah. And it's not like these people aren't worthwhile of their time and energy. Like there's important causes, things that are meaningful, things that will help people. And so knowing that there's hundreds and hundreds of opportunities on a daily basis for these artists, the fact that they do anything with us once, ever, to us is a big deal. Mm-hmm. And we don't take it for granted. Like we don't think like, oh, how come they're not working with us more? Mm-hmm. No, if they do one thing with us, then I am over the moon because I know the amount of asks they get. I know the demand. I know how valuable their time is and how little time they have to themselves. I mean, I just think about my day. It's busy. And if I have a moment of free time, I just want to do nothing. Yep. Nothing. And they're like that as well. Yep. And yet they're spending that time. They could be home with their family instead of being on the road, helping other people. To me, that is so monumentally gracious and huge that we just don't take it for granted, and we try to show our appreciation because I just know there's so many organizations out there that would love their time, and the fact that we get it once or more than once is huge.
That's so cool. Yeah. Well, tell me about your time with Iraq and Afghanistan Vets of America. Yeah. It's a great organization. I actually first got introduced to them and their founder, Paul Rykoff, when I was at MTV, and we started really what was the first national campaign to support post 9/11 veterans. Wow. First media campaign that was really trying to bring light a lot of the issues that these young veterans were facing coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan. Because at that time, again, when we asked our MTV audience doing research, what they thought of when they thought of veterans, they were thinking of these Vietnam and World War II veterans and the parades growing up. Yeah. Not 23-year-olds coming back from Afghanistan. Yeah. And they also thought, erroneously, that these veterans were taken care of. Oh, yeah, of course. And especially in the early days after 9/11, so much of our support systems and infrastructure to support veterans hadn't really been updated since the Vietnam era war. And what was happening is it was woefully inadequate support for our veterans. And so we started a big campaign at MTV around that. We worked with a lot of top military organizations. And Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America was really the premier organization working with these post 9/11 vets. And so it was really an honor to work with them on that campaign at MTV, but also to work there full time to try to engage these different organizations, corporate partners, on supporting these young vets. Everything from working with like LinkedIn and Google to help
veterans translate their military skills to the civilian sector.
Cool.
When they're looking for jobs, after their service, to organizations that just wanted to support, veterans in their local community. So not that you asked this, but like the reason that was important to me was that, my family has like a long history in serving in the military. And growing up, I always thought, like, before I was in high school, I grew up near West Point. I always thought I was just going to go to West Point and join the military. And then after college, I ended up not doing that and starting a business career. But I always felt like I wanted to do something that was very like service oriented for my country, for my community. At the time, to me, that was a way to do that, was to support veterans. And serving those that served kind of became something that was really important to me. And it's why I got involved in helping veterans. And it's why still with Musicians on Call, we've got programs at VA hospitals across the country, because I do think, nobody forces people that join the military to do that. And they're doing that, and they're serving our country, protecting us, supporting us. And I think my personal philosophy is that we should try to do things to help support them, during or after their service.
Yes, amen.
And that's why we're really proud of the programs that we have at VA hospitals, because we're able to do that for veterans across all generations, which is pretty cool.
That's so cool. And you said hospice too. You got Musicians on Call?
We work in hospices as well, which is which I got to tell you is a beautiful thing. That is, again, it can be somewhat difficult to be in there.
I can imagine.
Because you're dealing with a lot of like end of life situations.
Yeah.
But it's also very powerful, and we have a lot of volunteers. I think of like Shane Tarleton, who works here in the community. That's one of our big volunteers, and he always volunteers at a live hospice here in Nashville.
Wow.
Because I think for him and others, it's just so powerful to be in that situation where you know that you're providing support and care and love and music and healing to people when it's the end of their life. Yeah. And sadly, a lot of these rooms that we're visiting, as people are ending, near the end of their life, in many cases, there's no one else with them outside of the staff at that facility.
Yeah.
And so it's really powerful for those volunteers to know that they're supporting people and not letting them be alone as they're going through that like final battle in their life. And so those programs are really powerful. We love doing them, and I think they're really important.
Wow.
Yeah.
Heavy.
Yeah.
And beautiful.
It is.
How do you personally decompress when all this is kind of feels a little bit heavy?
Yes. Well, I use the medicine that we provide, which is music.
There it is.
So I definitely subscribe to Music Heals.
Wow.
And so a lot of times I will get into my car if we've had a particularly heavy visit.
Yeah. And
I will just put on the music that helps me like decompress. It could be any genre of music, whatever I'm feeling at that moment, but I will do that. And that really helps me. And then, to be honest, I've got, a family and a daughter and dogs and all that stuff, and spending time with them is important because I'm grateful for what I have. And, sometimes it's really heavy when you see families that are dealing with, a little kid, battling cancer in a hospital for some reason, and you feel so bad for them, and it kind of makes you want to go home and squeeze your loved ones a little bit tighter, and feel grateful that it's not something that you have to deal with. And so I do that as well. But yeah, music is certainly the thing that like helps me decompress. I remember when I was in a hospital with Noah Khan, and there was a young person that he was visiting that was a huge, huge fan of his. And she was in a really, really bad health situation. And it was really heavy, the visit. And he sat with her on her bed and let her request songs of his he wanted to play, and he played them for her. And as we were leaving the room, I could see like the heaviness, as we were walking the hallways to go to the next room. And I said, one of the things I do in the hospital when I'm coming out of a room like that is I think about like Sports Center and think about like the Yankees or the teams that I like. And it's something completely like trivial and distant from where we're at, just to try to like get my brain operating in some other space that's kind of like a little bit like goofy or seemingly less important in that moment, just to distract myself. Because when you're in the hospital, you don't want to like add to the sadness. Like you want to be the joy and the light and the distraction in that moment. And so you kind of need to like find little mental gymnastics like that to reset before you go to the next room.
It's good to know.
Yeah.
That is some good, little detachment.
Yes.
And then you do, and then detach. All right, then feel and
Yes.
process. And okay, that's it. That's good to know for any volunteers too. That's great. Yeah, whenever things get to be too much or if feeling burnout or whatever it is, I buy a ticket to whatever concert is that night. And luckily living in Nashville, it's super easy to do that.
A lot of options.
And I just love going to shows alone and just like, this is why. Yeah, because not only is the music healing, but then it's also like, these are my favorite things in the world.
Yeah.
You're going to be present at one place. It's going to be at a concert.
I love that. That's a good idea.
Yeah. What was your first concert you ever went to?
That first concert, I'm a little embarrassed by it, and it wasn't my choice, but for my sister's birthday, my parents got a bunch of tickets for her and her friends, myself included, to see New Kids on the Block.
Okay.
And so, NKOTB was my first concert. So it is what it is. They were top of the food chain at that time.
Absolutely.
But yeah, New Kids.
Was it your choice? What's one of your favorite concerts of all time?
I got to tell you, Monday night, I went to an incredible concert down in Huntsville. We went to see Blink-182.
Oh, yeah.
And it was just incredible. Love those guys. So happy, so fun. It's just like, it's always, we've seen them a couple times. It's always just such a pick-me-up show. Like if you're having a crummy day, like it's just awesome. And so it was just a great, great show. I love seeing Muse. Muse, because it's just such a great like audio visual experience at their shows. Gosh, I mean, I could go on and on, but I just feel like there's a lot of moments too that happen where, like I was at a festival, Ocean's Calling Festival last year, and it was like a monsoon when Blink-182 performed, and it was just like great to see them in that environment. I've been at like a Dave Matthews show that was like that.
Heck yeah.
Sometimes it's like the context or what's going on or the venue that you're seeing them that really makes it a great show. So
True.
Yeah.
True. Actually, a Dave Matthews concert, it was definitely a monsoon. It was like an insane storm, but everyone stayed.
Yeah.
And it was made it so much better. Yeah. What is one artist that you go to that always lifts your mood?
Oh, it's got to be Blink.
Okay, I was about to
they're
say.
just always like happy and fun to me.
Yeah.
And that's like just one of my all-time favorites. But I would say just generically, like I love like that late 90s, early 2000s alt rock music.
Yep.
So I think like as a genre, when I put that on, I think it's the nostalgia of it, that it just puts you like in a nice headspace for me particularly. So I think the nostalgia music for whatever that means for a person is a good place to go.
For sure. Biggest leadership lesson that you have learned, either the easy way or the hard way?
I mean, for me, it's you got to put your team first. You can have the best plan in the world. You can have the best strategy in the world. If you don't have a good team culture in place, it doesn't matter. Nothing's going to happen. And so you got to really focus on your team.
Yeah.
And I say that with all honesty, being that sometimes I've been awesome at that, and other times I've failed miserably at that. And there's a direct correlation to when things are going really well in my business.
Yeah.
And as a leader, with the team being happy and having a great team and a strong culture, or when things are getting rough and the team culture is at a low.
Yeah.
There's a direct correlation between those two things. And so I think as a leader, that's one thing I've learned, is that you have to spend time on people and making sure your team is supported and they're happy and they're feeling fulfilled. Because if they're not, you're just going to find your business struggling.
What are a couple qualities that you look to build in a culture of a team?
I mean, the way we approach it is at like a human level.
Okay.
We have to make each other happy as people in this life that we're living. And I think you can't look at it as like, well, what's going to support this employee as like the answer to that question. It's like, what is it that's going to make me happy as a human? Being able to spend time with my loved ones, having the flexibility to pick my kid up from school if I need to without getting beat up by my boss, knowing you've got that flexibility, knowing that the people that you work with care for you as a human when you're going through a good time or a bad time, and they're there for you. So to me, it's like that's the culture. It's like based in us as human beings living on earth, doing the best we can every day. And I think when you approach that and look at your team that way, and not as just like employee 1, 2, and 3 and people on a spreadsheet, that you're going to find better success running your business.
What is one thing that you wish more people understood about nonprofit work?
That this is a real business. And if you want to be a little bit like callous about it, it's just, we are a business with a product like anyone else.
Yeah.
It's just that we're not selling sneakers. We're providing a service, which is to bring joy to people in hospitals.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the only difference. That and our tax status is the only difference between, a for-profit company and a nonprofit company. But a lot of people, I think of nonprofit work as like a tier 2. Like there's corporate business and there's like real business, and then, there's like nice work that nonprofits do. And I promise you that my team will kick your team's butt any day of the week. Not you, but
Love
I mean
it.
like someone out there in the world who's working at a big company.
Yeah.
Like we have the most talented, smartest team in the world. And that's why we've been successful as a business. I have people that ask me like, do you get paid for what you do? Do you volunteer? I'm like, no, like this is literally like a real job. It's just that we're doing a different type of business than you do.
Yes.
And I think that's the one thing that people don't understand. Like we have the same challenges, the same struggles.
Yeah.
And the same opportunities. I mean, we, like at Musicians on Call, we heavily invest in technology.
Cool.
We innovate in technology. Like we've built platforms with a development team out of Portugal that is revolutionizing how volunteers are trained and scheduling and operating within hospitals nationwide. Like that is a real business innovation that someone could have invented and probably made a boatload of money doing and selling to people. But that's part of our business model.
Yeah.
And so,
wow.
And so it's like, I mean, I've had the opportunity to speak at Dreamforce, which is one of the biggest business conferences in the world, alongside someone at Amazon, about how we use technology to innovate in business. That's as a nonprofit. Like it's just people, it's a long answer to your question, that people I think that look at nonprofits as some sort of like lesser or tier 2 business or job in the world, I think are really missing an opportunity to understand the challenges and the hard work and the great work that we're doing here.
And potentially also find that grander purpose that someone might be seeking too.
Yeah.
That's really, really, that's amazing. If you were in a hospital bed, who would you hope would come to your bedside and sing for you?
Oh gosh. I mean, I think it would have to come back to like someone that was meaningful to me in my life. So it makes me think of like, artists that me and my wife and daughter might listen to a lot, like Blink-182 or Noah Kahan or Taylor Swift.
I was about to say, what was your daughter want?
Yeah. Artists like that it would remind me of a memory that I shared with my loved ones. When I was a kid, I grew up listening, like one of the artists that we played a lot in our house was like Billy Joel.
Love.
And I had the opportunity a few years ago to take my family to see Billy Joel in concert, and like to sit there with your loved ones and like share the music associated with these memories from growing up. Like to me, that's what it's all about. And to give you like a specific Musicians on Call type moment, there's like these little miracles that happen in the hospital that are like inexplicable through songs and song choices that happen, that you're just kind of like, it blows your mind. And I think of one specifically where there was an older man in a room with his like adult daughter, and we walk in there, and our volunteers, they play cover songs. Yeah. Because they want to play songs that people connect to. Right? And so they go in there and they kind of try to ask, what genre do you like? What type of music you listen to kind of land on something that the person might have heard before. And so this local volunteer here in Nashville went into the room and had that conversation. And the guy said, yeah, I kind of listen to, R&B and jazz and blues and soul and like that kind of stuff, anything like that. And so this musician chose a Ray Charles song. And it was like a good Ray Charles song. It wasn't like the most famous Ray Charles, but it was like a good, Ray Charles song. I can't remember specifically what it was, else I'd say it. But anyway, he starts playing it, and this guy is like just in the zone listening, and then you just see him like start to cry, and the musician keeps playing, and it's like, okay, I don't know, am I messing the song up? Like, am I doing this the right way? And he's looking at the adult daughter, and she doesn't know what's going on. I'm like, I don't know. And they get to the end of the song, and he's like, is that all right? Did I do okay? Was that all right? And the guy said, I didn't tell you this, but when, what song to play, but that was my wife and my wedding song. Right? And he didn't say like play this specific song. He just said the genres he liked. And of all the millions of songs, this musician plays this guy's wedding song. And his wife was no longer alive.
No.
And so he was having a moment thinking about the wedding song with his wife. And you're just like, man, like how does that happen? Of all the songs in the world, and then of all the songs that one musician might know, it happens to be the wedding song for this guy. And that happens more often than you think. And so it's like those are those like brilliant little moments where, especially for our volunteers, it's why they continue to volunteer with us, because when you're part of that, you're like, oh my gosh, I want to volunteer tomorrow. Like, how do I
impactful.
Keep being part of moments like this?
That's so beautiful. Gosh.
Yeah.
And the last thing I forgot to ask you is you, Silver Star, you saved lives during a flood. What happened there?
Yeah. Well, so one of the things that I do here locally in Nashville is I volunteer with the Office of Emergency Management.
Cool.
And so in that role, we do a lot of disaster response, whether that's during storms, tornadoes, floods. I'm part of the dive rescue team and the Swiftwater team, which is Swiftwater is like floods.
Yeah.
And so when we've had situations where there's been flooding, which unfortunately there's been a lot of those recently, in the rivers, we're those guys that get called out when you see the videos of people like going to rescue people from their cars or their homes or what have you. And so, I've been involved with that now for 10 years. And there was a night, I think it was maybe 2 years ago or 3 years ago, where there was crazy floods here in Nashville. And me and my partner that I was out with this night, Rob Boudreau, we went out there and we were responding to calls. Like someone's stuck in their car, someone's house is flooding, can we help get them out? And so we were doing that, and we responded to this call that was kind of off of like Harding Place in Nashville. And there was a creek that I think normally is about like 3 or 4 feet deep and probably about like 6-7 feet wide. And by the time we got there, the creek was about 19 feet deep and it was about like 100 yards wide.
Wow.
And so areas that looked like just normally would look like woods looked like a lake. It was massive. And we heard someone screaming in the woods. It's pitch black in the middle of the night. We got on the boat that we had on our trailer and we went out there, and it's like 2 a.m, thunder, lightning, rain. You can't see anything. Rob was driving the boat. I had my flashlight, and we come across this guy who was holding on to this tree, and he was, up to the water was up to his waist. But if you were to take the water away, he was probably about 15 feet high in the tree. That's how high the water was.
My gosh.
And we went over. We're trying to maneuver to him. There's literally cars floating down the river. I mean, all sorts of pieces of homes, and we're trying to get to him. And as we were getting to him, he says, have you found the officer? I'm like, what are you talking about? And I say that like we're talking. It's like in the middle of a storm. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And he's like, there's a police officer out here. And at that point, we hadn't gotten a call that there was a police officer or anything. And we said, do you know where he was? And he's like, I think he's in that direction. So we started to move the boat upstream in that direction. And at that point, I was shining my flashlight and I see the Metro Police badge on his shoulder and like the top of his head, and that's all that was above the water line. We found out later he'd been out there for about an hour and a half, wedged up against this tree. Literally, if we hadn't gotten there when we did, he probably would have drowned.
Oh my gosh!
Because he'd been holding on for so long, and so we were able to get him out and bring him to safety, and he was able to get treated and all that stuff. But we were just in the right place in the right time, and we had through the Office of Emergency Management, we had done all the training we needed to in that area, and we're put in a position to be successful. And honestly, we were part of a team that night that made dozens and dozens of saves and helping people out. And it was funny because when the flooding happens in some parts of towns, it's like a nightmare.
Yeah.
In other parts of town, people are like, did it rain last night? And so
that's crazy.
Yeah. So it's just one of those things where we were in the right place at the right time and we were able to help. And so that was a cool thing to be part of.
Cheers to y'all. I mean, and also Nashville's the place. We got the craziest weather.
Yeah. There's lots going on here all the time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I've loved getting to know you more. Thank you for sharing your story. And also, I'm really hopeful that we get this message out about Musicians on Call, how people can get involved. And in the show notes, we'll put, where to go and how to start volunteering with you guys. But I'm looking forward to getting more involved. And it's really awesome what you guys are doing. And I can't wait to do it myself.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me. And it's important, honestly, for folks like yourself that have this platform to shine a light on what we do.
Yeah.
So that others can get involved to help people. And then honestly, like Gigs is such a great platform and I know a lot of people that use it.
Oh,
and I think that I would say for people that are using it to like look for jobs, the other thing too is like sometimes when you volunteer, you end up making some great connections to people. And that, as we know, it's like you always have to build relationships. And when you do that, opportunities can come about. And so especially for us that has a lot of people that work in the music industry volunteering with us, I'd also say that it's a great way to volunteer if you're looking to network and find future gigs.
I love that. Thank you. Everyone listen up to that. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Pete. I appreciate this.
Thank you for having me.